from a shamanic point of view, a drum is a very good tool to help us to do that. The beat of the drum, the sound that the drum makes, helps you to go into a very relaxed state. And that the beat of the drum is like the beat of your heart. So you connect with that sound. And one good thing to do is to create a sacred space before you do a journey to connect with your guides. There are many ways that you can create a sacred space. You can use sage to clear the area. You can use incense, or you can just light a candle, do a prayer. Depending on where you are and what tools you have.
Anybody can create a sacred space?
Anybody can create a sacred space. By doing a prayer, we create a sacred space. By having a nice thought, we create a sacred space. So I'm going to just gently show how shamanically we can do that. Okay.
Please do that.
You can either, if you don't have a drum, you can either maybe buy a CD with a drumming beat. If you don't have also a CD, you don't even need any sound. All you need is connect to the heartbeat, your own heartbeat. Okay. So I'll do a prayer and ask the spirits to create a sacred space around me. And then I will drum. And what I do is I invite the spirits to come into my sacred space, my guides to come into that sacred space. And from there, I connect with the spirits. So I'll just do a little prayer. Great Spirit, I ask you for a sacred space around myself. I ask my power animals to come and sit in the four corners of this room. Help, support, and watch over me. And I ask my guides to come into this sacred space. Grandmother, I invite you into this sacred space. So what happens now is that from that prayer, you can already notice a difference in the energy in that space. So the rhythm of the drum helps me to relax and helps me to go deeper within myself. And from that point, I have called my guides, I have called my grandmother to come into this sacred space. And then I can communicate. The language of the spirits is the language of the heart. So from that moment, the drums help my mind to calm down and be quiet. And then I connect deeper with the rhythm of my heart. And the language that the spirits understand is the language of the heart. So from there, then yes, my mind comes, or my imagination, if you like to call it, through imagining that my guides are coming, or visualization. So I visualize myself perhaps in front of my guide, or my guide arrive in that space, and I allow the drum to support me in that work. And then I can talk to my guides and get insights and guidance on whatever I need, and ask questions and help, and yeah. Okay.
How did you start to work the shamanic way?
I was about 13 when I started to work spiritually. I used to go with an old lady who was my neighbor to a spiritual place in Brazil. And I did that for 2 years. And that's something that in our culture is natural. I was a kind of a troubled child because I was oversensitive to things. So my parents felt, well, maybe it would be good for me to develop spiritually and to help. So I started to go with this neighbor for 2 years. And I have learned few things about how to connect with my guides and how to accept that I actually had a gift. And that was one of the major things, is to accept that I had a gift. And the fact that I was a troubled child doesn't mean that it was a problem. It just is the way how we looked at it. So that's how I started. And then for many years I didn't do any work. And then I did a sweat lodge many years later, after having a career, being married, and doing all the things that we do in life. And it was inside the sweat lodge that I received my spiritual call. And the spiritual call was for me to do this work. And that was nearly 10 years ago. And from that moment on, I just accepted that call.
So one would say first is acceptance and second is service.
Exactly. And it was acceptance of the gift that I had, because for a long time I fought against it, didn't want it, or I was afraid of it. And so it was accepting that what I had was a gift, and then it's transforming that into a different way, where offering that as a service. So that's how my process was. And then after that, together with my partner Mark Halliday, we started the Shamanic Center. And then from then on was just offering the service